and thank you for joining us today on Beyond the Book here at QCTV. I'm your host, Judy Soul with the Anoka County Library. Our next local author is Cyril Mukalel, author of Life in a Faceless World. Life in a Faceless World is Cyril's debut novel. It tells the story of Naila, a young woman from India who was relocated to the U.S. in an arranged marriage. Thank you for joining us today, Cyril.
Thank you for having me here.
Can you tell us a little bit about Life in a Faceless World?
Life in a Faceless World is about building bridges and removing fences. It encourages people to know one another. Like when we see someone who is a little different, our tendency is to look what is different. But instead, when we focus on that, try to learn more about that person and learn more, and what happens is we will also look through their eyes, and we see an entirely different world out there. That way, that fences we have built around us, that is removed, and that will start to begin to build bridges around between us.
Okay. Did anything in particular inspire you to write Life in a Faceless World?
See, I was never a writer, or I never thought I had any talent, as a matter of fact. But I always wanted to do something different that nobody ever expected from me. So I never knew what it was. But I knew I was always a dreamer. Like a few years ago, I started to take bus to my work, and there was a library nearby. So I picked up a few books and started reading, and I built that hobby of reading books. Some of those books had so much influence on me. I was able to think like those characters, walk with those authors. And then at that moment, I thought I should also try to be a writer. So I began to write poetry, little short stories. With that, I started to apply for different fellowships, and I won a fellowship at the Loft Literary Center. That training helped me to be a writer, to improve, focus on what are most important things. So that helped me to improve more and write more, and for that course, I wrote few stories. So that was my beginning.
Very nice. There are some deep themes in your book. Was there anything in particular you wanted readers to take away from it?
This book is very inspiring too. It also is about our day-to-day struggles and how we overcome those struggles and look at life much positive way. See, like in our lives, if you think we are the center of our everything, our problems become bigger and bigger and balloon, and it gets out of control. But once we look into other people's problems and their lives, we'll find out that they have much bigger problems, and they look at that in a different way and handle it in a much better way. That way, we also will tend to console them, and also it helps us to make our problems become smaller and smaller. And our life won't be self-centered. We will look into other people's lives to help one another, and our perspective of life changes, and we become much happier people in life.
Can you tell me a bit about what it was like writing Life in a Faceless World?
Writing the book was not that difficult for me, because I always try to bring what I have experienced, the people I have seen. So I try to bring everyone together through my characters. One thing I can do is I can get into the mind of people and like my characters and think like them. So writing was not a big problem for me, but being not a native English speaker and born here, I had difficulties with because being a first generation immigrant, you tend to think the language you are born up, your mother tongue, that's how you think and then you write. So that had some issues, but those are like technical problems, but I was able to overcome that quickly, and with some help, I was able to get it going. But writing the story, building the characters, that was not a problem for me at all.
Other than writing, how do you help other writers?
One thing I wanted, through the whole process of writing and publishing, I found that it's so hard for new writers to publish. I always look at the example of Einstein or Isaac Newton. They were like 5th or 6th or 7th, 11th children. What happens if a writer quit writing after the first book? Because usually you'll have your best books after 2 or 3 books. So I thought that should never happen. I wanted to encourage people to write books. So what I did was a bunch of us got together, a few writers, and started a company called Pottersville Publishing House. It is not profit oriented. Our goal is to make profit only when our writers make profit. So help them to write more and publish them quality books.
And where can our viewers find your writings?
My book is available on Amazon.com. Hopefully it will soon come at the local bookstores.
Okay. Well, thank you, Cyril, for coming on the show. We hope to read more of your writing in the future. Cyril Mukalel, author of Life in a Faceless World. Stay with us. We'll have our final author after this.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. We'd like to once again thank all the authors that we had on today's show. I'm Judy Soul, wishing you good reading from all of us here on Beyond the Book.